Welcome back to another episode of Talking Sports A to Z. Been a couple weeks. We wanted to give you guys, time to kind of reflect on everything going on, around the country. And it's good to be back here. And we're going to get into, the NBA restarting, the PGA Tour coming back with golf this week. A couple of bets I have for you with the PGA Tour coming back this week, and kind of discuss things going around this country. So. Welcome back in, guys. Alex Busch here alongside Drew Zlogar. Excited to get back and talk to you guys. How's it going, Drew?
What's going on, man? Yeah, exactly. Like you said, really pumped to be back on the airwaves with you, talking to all you guys listening. Hope everyone's obviously staying safe, staying healthy. We're dealing with some crazy times in our society, and I've been overwhelmed in a positive way, seeing everyone rallying for the good fight. We've seen multiple athletes, multiple public figures, and frankly, the entire Black community through the years try to advocate for the equal rights. And oftentimes through my life, I can only speak on my 25 years, but people have kind of put a blind eye to it. And it's a shame and terrible how George Floyd left us, and rightfully so. That cop should never see the sunlight again. But the fact that we are seeing so many people stand behind the good fight, they're speaking up for Black Lives Mattering, and from Black, white, Asian, everyone in between, everyone seems to be finally coming alive and becoming awake to what has been frankly a pandemic for hundreds and hundreds of years. So still a lot of work to do, but like you said to start our show, we, out of respect, kind of have been on the quieter side of things, haven't posted a podcast in a couple of weeks because we ourselves wanted to discuss how we wanted to come back in a respectful way. So wanted to just shed some light there. And I'm sure, Busch, you feel the same way as I do, but seeing all the sports public figures, the guys that we look up to as sports fans, rallying around together in large majority, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough time with literally everything going on. I think that, in movements like these, it takes a lot of tough times to get things right, or at least better. And I think that you're seeing that around the community, which is really good. And I hope there's, more good from bad. And just for people, like us, we're not born that way. We're, these privileged, white kids from, suburban areas. We're here to listen and kind of learn what's going on. And, it's been eye-opening for me. And I'm, you kind of touched on that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. But through all of this, there's been some positives in the past couple of weeks. The NBA obviously finally came to an agreement. July 31st, the NBA and the NBA Players Association agreed on a restart date. So 22 teams. We have an 8-game regular season, we'll call it, to finish out the regular season. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of those 8 games, the 9th seed, if they are within 4 games of the 8th seed, they will have a play-in tournament to get that 8th seed figured out. But if after the 8 regular season games, if the 8th seed is out of reach, then playoffs start how they stay. So understanding the rules and kind of the regulations around this restart. Busch, what were your thoughts? It's a July 31st start, so I think Game 7 of an NBA Finals would be October 12th. This kind of it restructures the outlook of how the NBA season has looked for years and years and years. But in general, it's a positive sign that one of the most popular sports leagues in the world is back. So what were your thoughts when this came back and became official that the NBA was returning?
Yeah, I mean, what is it? July 9th or June 9th. So, the finals would be going on right now, which is just crazy. If it were a regular season, without, this whole pandemic, it's crazy, but I mean, it was going to come back. We knew it. Justin Lester, you owe me money because you said it wasn't coming back. I just want to remind him that.
You
Um,
probably owe him money from the 2K game, though.
no, we never bet on that. Oh, actually, we did, but it's okay. I paid him. He still owes me a little bit from this because we knew it was coming back. I mean, in one way or another.
Right.
It's going to be crazy that they're all playing in one area. And I was reading reports that they're going to try and be playing like 5 games a day, which is pretty
Yeah.
sweet. I called it August Madness. Like, dude, we missed March Madness, but imagine just these games going, especially when the playoffs start, one after another. It'll be pretty cool. It's going to be crazy to have golf, hockey, basketball. Who the hell knows what's going on with baseball, but possibly baseball, if they were to come to an agreement, all going on at once.
Yeah, I mean,
Soccer.
soccer's returning, so.
Sorry, Mikey. But, yeah, I mean, just out of those sports kind of all going on at the same time will be a lot of fun. It's cool that they – left some teams in that still have a fighting chance at that playoff spot because, these lower teams, they don't want to come there to play games for no reason. But, if there's a fighting chance to make the playoffs, you deserve to be in there. And it's really good to see that, especially in the Western Conference, having all those teams kind of jumbled, with 8 regular season games, anything could happen. So, I mean, it's going to be, from the start, it's going to be like playoff basketball to start because, well, there's going to be rust, but I think that just the intensity is going to be like playoff basketball from the start, which will be pretty sweet. And they're going to be, missing playing for so long, and it'll be weird without fans, but they're going to be, ready, and it's going to be kind of a sprint to the finish, which will be cool.
I'm excited, man. I think everything you just touched on, I agree with. I'm very excited. I look at it as kind of like a playground atmosphere with all the games in a row. I read the same report of you that one of the mocks of how they envision this restart going is that there's going to be multiple games in a day. They're all on one campus. So, and then it's kind of playgroundy of just rolling the ball out and going, but it also has summer league vibes. I know you and I both worked
that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
During a summer league, and it was literally just, I remember working those games. You were out in Vegas, but I was back at home base, like working those days of just game after game after game was incredible and a lot of fun. But it was also, it was so much basketball. It was almost like we were in Nirvana. So,
but having it as a fan will be fun. That's for sure.
100%. And given the stakes and given that we're at the finish line and that's how they're starting again, I think it's going to be incredible. But there's still a lot of things to be ironed out, and some of which are how the days are going to go. I don't think that they've yet set into stone the daily games and scheduling of that sort. So that's something to get figured out. But also something that was on my mind is the injury aspect of things, and then frankly the pandemic. So I wanted to get your take. I don't think there's really a wrong or right answer to this. This is kind of an opinionated topic of conversation. I find it hard to believe that with 22 teams and 12 to 15 players on each team, that all of those human beings are all going to stay coronavirus free. Like all the numbers around the country in general are going down. That's good. But for some, I still believe that we're going to see a case or two or a few. And how do you think that a league like the NBA is going to deal with that? I've heard that I heard one report that Adam Silver is basically conditioning these teams ahead of time that try not to flip out and go crazy if one of your athletes get it. We're gonna treat it as an individual case, but we're not necessarily gonna just pull your whole team out. But with that said, it's like the other side of the argument is like if player X has it, he's been around everybody on his team
Yeah.
touching like so close. So what is your thought about how mostly effective it could be regarding this pandemic, given the sense that everyone is in the said bubble?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're in a bubble and you're all in there, but you have to, they're going to definitely be testing before you get in there. And then I don't know how frequently, but I'd assume they're every day you play, you'd be getting tested. But it's different. I know that just from knowing people that still work at the tour and the PGA Tour is coming back, I know that even their staff and people that are going to travel to work, they're getting tested before they go to the airport. They're getting tested when they get there. They're getting tested every day on site. So I think that
Wow.
it's just a thing where you got to consistently be tested. And I think that, like you said, you can't freak out if one person has it. If one person has it, you treat it like, you isolate that person and you still go on and you're getting tested. So you'll know if other people are getting it. I think that at this point, it's not breaking out like when Rudy Gobert got it. Like, it's not going to be the same thing. Like the UFC, when they came back, one of their guys had it and he wasn't able to participate. It's the same kind of thing. Teams is tougher, especially a lot of teams in the same area. But if someone gets it, you gotta isolate them and kind of treat that on a per case basis. But having no fans, having very limited staff is gonna be helpful, and having them kind of in that bubble that they're not really allowed to leave, almost like an AAU tournament kind of thing, kind of vibes when you're a kid and you can't really do much, So it's going to be weird. It's going to be different. Every sport's going to be different until, there's a vaccine or something like that along those lines. So, you kind of got to deal with it per case basis and just stay prepared and be ready for that, because it's going to happen.
Yep. I agree with you, but I think that's eloquently said. I agree with your take. Obviously the elephant in the room is, God forbid, like a LeBron James or
that's the thing you got to think about. Imagine if a star player were to get it. It's just crazy. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Treat it it's not that it's not important, but you treat it like an injury to the fact where that guy's out, but then they got to isolate.
Yep.
Sorry, my computer's falling right now.
Exactly right. I think that's how I stand as well. But guys, feel free to chime in on our social handles at Talking Sports AZ on all three main Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear your comments, because this is something that there isn't really a right or wrong answer until the people of power at the NBA deem rules and regulations regarding this. So until then, it's fun to brainstorm. So we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. But yeah, Busch, let's get into it. So the 22 teams, I'm looking right now on ESPN.com. In order, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, the Los Angeles Lakers. We have the LA Clippers are up there. So just going through all the teams that are going to the dome, the bubble, who do you like in this kind of abbreviated session of games to make some noise here? I guess maybe we start with the battle for the 8th seed. So in the Eastern Conference, we have only the Washington Wizards fighting to get back in. And then in the West, we have a medley of teams down there at the bottom. It's the Suns, the Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, I believe.
Yeah, Pelicans, Portland Kings,
as well.
San Antonio.
Awesome. So of those teams, who do you think that we're going to see an actual battle for any 8th seed? So currently right now, who has the 8th seed in the East and West?
So the East, 8 is Orlando, 7's Brooklyn. They're separated by a half a game. And then Washington's – see, this is the thing about the East. Washington's 5.5 games out. I think they pretty much have to run the table, know.
They need a lot of help. They have to run the table, and they need, like, Orlando and Brooklyn.
They need help too, yeah. I think the East is locked up, in my opinion. But – you really don't know. But then the West, 7's Dallas, 8 is Memphis. Dallas is pretty much solidified. They're up 7 games on the 8 seed. So it's really just for the 8 seed, which is Memphis, Portland, New Orleans, SAC, San Antonio, Phoenix, and they're all within 6 games from 8 till the bottom. You know who I actually really, I mean, this all obviously all has to do with health and everything and how everyone comes back with rust, but
Yep.
I think that Portland could be a team that could catch a bubble. Catch a bubble in the bubble, catch kind of like, lightning in a bottle kind of thing. And that's, you talk about that in the NCAA tournament, but that's kind of what this is. You got 8 games to kind of fight your way in, and you treat them do or die. And I think that having guys like Lillard, with that just ferocious kind of winning mentality, in this kind of thing, this kind of situation where you're 3.5 games back with 8 games to play. So I think that they'd be a team that you should watch for, in kind of that fight for 8. I think that New Orleans could be a question mark there too. New Orleans, Portland, and Sacramento are all 3.5 games back. So, and then San Antonio's 4 games back. So those are all teams that really realistically could do something. Not trying to leave out your Suns, but they're 6 games back. That's tough. So
It was incredible, man. I had a bunch of buddies reach out to me and they were like, "The Suns." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" Even if it's in the most abbreviated season and way possible, it's cool that they got the nod. Yeah, I agree. They're not catching anybody, but the fact that they made it there is a fun little sign. But yeah, I think ideally I would love to see Zion in the playoffs.
That'd be
More
sweet.
Zion. More Zion, the better, in my opinion. But I would say that if another team can get in, I would love to see Damian Lillard. He's, I think, one of my favorites and one of NBA fans in an umbrella basis. Everyone loves Damian Lillard. He's a player that is a killer on the court, but he's quiet, humble, and to himself off the court. So he's never in bad news. Yeah, and he spits bars, exactly. But he's never a guy that's stirring up controversy. And when he's, quiet and respectful off the court, but then he's just a dog on the court, he's a guy to easily root for. And in an 8-game sprint to the finish to get in, you need one of those alphas that is good enough to just absolutely take over. And
Carmelo is that guy.
Let me see that shirt. Shout out Carmelo.
Mello. Shout out my guy. Hey, he always dominates the courts when he's playing street ball. Pickup.
Mello to come in as a microwave option, but then Lillard to just take over. I like that outlook. But even still, if Memphis holds on to that 8th seed, Ja Morant, in my opinion, wins.
I mean, you saw him in March Madness last year.
He's incredible. So lot of good things. So if you had to put money, I think the East is locked up. You'll see Orlando and Brooklyn stay in the 7 and 8, I believe. If you had to put a Busch's best bet, I'm going to jump in as well. But who do you have getting that 8th seed in the West, given all of the close teams around that spot and Memphis holding it currently?
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 3.5 games? You got 8 games. You probably got to win just to be safe with other teams. How Memphis does, you probably got to win 6 probably to be safe and going, making it to that playoff to get in. So, I mean, it's going to be tough, but I think Portland's a really good bet, especially because if you were kind of betting on who's going to make it in, they're going to have pretty good odds in the bettor's favor. So I think that they'd be a good bet. But I mean, don't count out a team that's 3.5 games up with 8 games to play. So, I could see, Memphis and Portland are my 2 teams that I think have probably the best chance. I mean, it's kind of going chalk there, but just by the standings, but that's kind of what I would think.
I think I agree with you. I think if I had to bet, I think Memphis keeps their spot.
Yeah.
They were scrappy enough and weren't so heavily reliant on one type of thing that this long layoff could have really hurt them or could have hurt like the steam of an engine of a guy that was just having an unbelievable season. They were kind of running as a good overall team. So I think that plays in their favor. I think the one man army type thing, that sprint to the finish aspect, that gives Lillard the best option. And I think he's the best player for that type of scenario.
I'd
For
love to
that
see
to work.
Portland kind of make a run here. That'd be fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I might put something on them to get that 8th spot, because that's you're gonna get pretty good odds. I wonder what those odds are. Probably like plus 180, 200. I mean, you're gonna get good
Yeah.
odds on that. Anything higher than that, take it and run, because like that's. I mean, that also just as a fan watching would be a lot of fun too. You've seen we just so many 10:30 games where Lillard goes off. Just imagine him in kind of a March Madness format. Playing every day, playing back to back kind of stuff. So
Right.
yeah,
So
it's gonna be fun.
looking now, moving on from the the battle for the 8th seed, I guess we could call it. You're looking at both the West and Eastern Conference. Who do you like? So I'll give you the top 4. We'll start on the Eastern Conference. Top 4 seeds: Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston, and Miami. It's worth noting that Indiana 5, Philadelphia 6. Who do you like in this abbreviated season to represent the Eastern Conference? Do you see Giannis and the Bucks with how dominant they were during the first part of the regular season? Do you see that staying, or do you see a surprise team coming in and representing the East in Orlando?
The team that if I were betting man on this, I'd take Milwaukee out of the East, every day. But I think that in this style where you're playing probably, 3 games in 4 days kind of thing, you're playing a lot of day games, just a lot of March Madness feel, a lot of spark, a lot of catching lightning in a bottle. I think that Toronto is a team that feeds off of that because of they lose big guys and they're still there. They're still here, and they're feeding off of that, they doubted us kind of thing, just because of, losing your core last year in Kawhi. And I think that they're a team that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I love Kyle Lowry, so I really, I want to see that. But I think they're a team that could surprise people. A 2 seed's not going to surprise people, but a Toronto team losing Kawhi is going to surprise people. So I think that, they definitely have, promise here in this kind of format. But Milwaukee's so dominant. It's just, I think they're, it's going to, can't even speak. It's going to depend on Russ, but I really think that they're going to be real, real, real tough to beat. So, and,
I think.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Sorry to interrupt you, but
You're fine.
I think those are good takes. I believe that Milwaukee will represent. We talk about having that alpha to take over. I think in a 1-game consistent basis this season, Giannis was the alpha in the league. And I feel like if I have confidence in anybody during the pandemic to be working their absolute ass off, it was Giannis. So I feel like he's going to come in fresh and ready to freaking roll and determined, man. He's widely considered one of the best in the game, but hasn't done really anything in the playoffs whatsoever. I think they have 1 series win with him leading their charge. So he really needs for him to make that elevation to stardom status, that the LeBrons, the Kawhis, the guys that we can trust to run a franchise, he needs to take that next step. So I think he's motivated and will get it done. But if I had to think of another team, I like Boston's chances. I think with how young they are collectively, with who they trust and rely on, the Jason Tatums, the Jaylen Browns, and the like, I like their youth and their athleticism.
The Taco Falls.
Exactly. with the coaching of Brad to figure success out in this unique situation. So I do have Milwaukee, but my team that I also wouldn't be surprised about would be Boston. So let's
Agreed.
transition to the West. Go
Go
ahead.
on. I was just going to say, I think I liken Boston to kind of the Toronto mentality, that they can kind of catch this spark and keep it going, because they're a team that, like, just in their past, they've been such a momentum kind of team. Even back when they had, Kyrie for a quick stint, they're a team that in series would go down 2-0. Remember the series against Philly 2 years ago, the back and forth momentum kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that them taking that spark and that momentum and kind of capturing it could be good for them as well. They kind of liken me to Toronto in that sense, but more skilled in my opinion.
So moving to the West, we have the Lakers 1, Clippers 2. So LA dominating the top 2 spots in the West.
All right. Just stop. Ask me the question and I'll answer it right now. The Lakers are going to win the finals, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so we obviously
who else is playing.
the biggest LeBron stan out there. I wasn't surprised to hear that you're all in on LeBron and the Lakers, but let me just do the due diligence. We have Denver 3, Utah 4, OKC 5, and then the other team worth noting is that Houston is at 6. We already listed Dallas and Memphis rounding out the table, but LA, Denver, Utah, OKC, Houston. You skipped ahead a couple steps. You already had the Lakers there.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as the 2 LA teams are going to be the 2 vying for it? I think I'm looking at these teams.
I mean, I think so, but dude, so many of these teams are just so talented and so. I'm going to say this 1,000 times going through this, but like momentum's going to be so big in this format that I think teams like Boston, Denver, Utah, even Houston. I mean, that team is so much more talented than a 6 seed. I mean, I could see really any team giving both LA teams a run for their money, but at the end of the day, LeBron's going to win the title. Like, can we just stop there? Like,
okay.
Put all your money on the Lakers right now.
Everyone who's listening that knows you is like, all right, we could have.
Shaking their head.
I could have fast forward through this segment because I knew the answer. I knew you were going to pick the Lakers. I'm looking at this. I like the Lakers. You want to talk about a guy that's motivated to win another one, and also has the wherewithal to understand that he's on the back 9 of his career.
You'd think the Last Dance didn't motivate him?
100%. So he knows that his time is ticking. And with Anthony Davis, with the team that he has around him, they're good now, but old, and they don't have too much cap to like continue to like retool and rebuild each season in and out. So this is as good of a time as LeBron has left on his timeline here to get it done. So I think he will be a motivated maniac. I'm interested to see how the Paul George and the Kawhi experiment comes back off of this big layover. The Clippers were, I think, the best team in the league when they were clicking, but they had so many moments that they just weren't fitting and weren't meshing together. And it's going to be interesting to see what Clippers team we get in this restart, because it could either be gangbusters and Lakers look out, or it could be the Mavericks might upend them in the first round playoff series. Either one, like, I think has a viable option of happening.
I mean, I think you're going to get that. You're going to get that talented team no matter what. And I just don't see the Clippers coming out in this kind of, they're all together this year. They have a good chance. Don't let having this layover screw up your chances. And I think that the 2 LA teams are going to be in the Western Conference Finals, hands down. So
Yep. I want to give Houston a hat tip here because I think a team like Houston that's just all offense, they rely on Russ and Russell Westbrook and James Harden to just absolutely take over. And in this abbreviated time, you need those takeover guys. So I do think
Hmm.
Houston as a 6 seed is good value. Denver
Yeah.
has been like the fraud of the
They'd be
last three.
they'd be playing Denver, right? If it ended today.
Yep, they'd be playing
Okay.
Denver, and it's like Denver is one of those like those regular season teams. You know they're going to be in the top 4 or so because they win all these regular season games. But with Jokic or Murray, if you even want to call him Murray, your best player as that go getter for your team, I don't think you're ever going to be successful. So
That's the tough thing because they're so talented. They have so many great players, but Jokic is incredible, but relying on that kind of game in that really you can't change your game too much because he's I mean, he can shoot, but he is very
he's
having a
late.
big man like that be your guy is really tough
The thing with Jokic that
in 2020.
you'll never hate on him. Like a guy like Rudy Gobert, you have actual flaws to point out. Like
Yeah,
he is an unbelievable best defensive big man in the game, but he can't shoot outside of
can't shoot.
Jokic can do a little bit of it all, but he's so slow and so labor
He is so slow.
in a
And he
day
can't play those minutes when you need him to all the time,
right
you
because
know?
he gets gassed and in a day and age where the modern era of basketball is fast run
Well,
go.
also wait till they're playing 4 games in 5 days or something
So
like that, you know?
that's another good point and another reason why in a crazy way it sounds like I'm being foolish when I say this, but Jokic in my opinion is best being a number 2. I think if a team is ever going to rely on a Nikola Jokic, you damn sure better have to have like better than
A
Gary.
stud point guard.
Like yeah, you need better than even what Denver has right now because
Yeah,
it's just not enough to have a laboring slow big man like Jokic, even though he's talented as hell. So
I agree.
I think it's not surprising. You and I typically have similar basketball takes that we both like
Mhm.
the Lakers, we both like the Bucks, but there is going to be some
Lakers Bucks finals, just give it to me right now. Oh.
I would love it. So loving that, loving to see that we have, and as we continue on, we have all this time until July 31st to see this through, but we'll start getting into like prospective matchups to see how things
Yeah,
are.
we can do some series picks. We can
Yeah,
go in a
we'll
little
go in
deeper on
depth
that.
on this. So this was just the
Yep.
top line to talk about the
I mean,
basketball.
we got about a month and a half till they even start. A little longer than that, actually. So,
Yep. So plenty of time. But Bush, something that's on the immediate horizon. Golf is back. I feel
mhm.
like golf has been the most consistent sport storyline through this pandemic crisis.
Mhm.
Give us kind of the update of what we have to expect this weekend. And I know you have some best bets that you want to
Yeah.
get to. Talk to us about what we have.
So, we've had a couple charity matches, but and finally we have real PGA Tour event. A full field, and it's the Charles Schwab's Challenge, Fort Worth, Texas, Colonial Country Club. Great track. I mean, the thing about that is that's a tournament that usually falls under the radar. Because the field is not incredible, but now that it's the first tournament back, a lot of people are playing. No Tiger, but we got top players. We got Brooks, we got Rory, we got John Rahm. All these guys are going to be playing and competing. So speaking of that, I'm going to read this off because these are freaking incredible. The hold on. The feature groups this week are just sick. they're just like, for a Charles Schwab Challenge to have these kind of groups is just incredible. So we got Brooks, Rory, John Rahm. We've got JT, Ricky, and Jordan. We got Justin Rose, Bryson, and DJ. and Phil, Kevin Na, Gary Woodland. So we've got some studs playing together in some great groups, which will be a lot of fun. I'm so excited. I'm getting up at like 6:00 on Thursday to watch golf.
Where is this being played?
So it's in I think the town is actually Fort Worth, right near Dallas. So it's Colonial Country Club. So one guy that, just because it's in Dallas, he lives in Dallas. He's a Texas guy. Jordan Spieth is really interesting to me this week because he had such a bad year, but he saw glimpses of hope in his game to where he has been. It's crazy that, if he makes a couple putts around, his game changed tremendously. And I think that if he's been training and he's been working on his mental game, which is the toughest part for him, he's staying at home. I don't know if he technically has to get in the PGA Tour bubble or whatever, but he's from the area, so it's local for him. So he's a guy that I'm looking at this week, not necessarily to win, but to perform, and I'll get more into it on the bets. But the thing that I want to propose to you, this is they're going to have no fans. They're going to be chartering flights to each tournament pretty much with the tour players, and they're not going to have fans until the Memorial in July. I believe it was moved to July. I'll be there. So, golf, just from you, as opposed to me, a more casual golf fan, what do you think on, how much do you think it'll affect having no fans? Because I know that at a tournament, having fans is huge. It's, huge for that. But I think on the TV side, I don't think it's going to be that much different. I really don't.
Right. I agree. With how things played out, and honestly how normal it seemed and not crazy to watch the charity events without any fans. Mm-hmm. Granted, the players had microphones, so it won't be the same in that regard. So it will be quiet. But in a way, when I'm watching when I'm watching golf, I'm kind of just zoned in on the shots. And yeah, it's cool when Tiger makes.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. The one outlier is the Tiger roar. But besides that, I think that fans are not as noticeable until the 18th green on TV.
Yep. And I think given, like you said, given the star-studded pairings, there's going to be enough kind of natural electricity, we'll call it, going on, just because it's going to be incredible golf. And it's props to the PGA of making those trios that they did, because none of those pairings have and you have this guy. It's all guys that we love watching. So that's good, and I think that'll benefit them when we watch. But yeah, I said, I don't think it's going to be too crazy. The 18th roar is always great, and when you got the guy that eagles from 200 yards out.
Yeah, the thing that changes it too is guys putting on 16 and they hear a big roar on 12 and they're like, oh, on Sunday, and they're like, oh crap, something just happened. That'll be a little different. It's not as intimidating that way, but.
Yep. And in a way, everyone's just in their own mind playing their own game then. So it'll be cool to see everyone at their absolute best with no external factors, affecting them. So
the thing I'm excited for is the first guy to make a birdie putt, grab the ball, and normally they acknowledge thanks. It's wait, what do I do? It's so last year, I forget which round of it, with the Zozo Championship was the championship or the tournament in Japan that Tiger won his 82nd tour victory in. They had so much rain that they didn't allow fans for one day. I can't remember if it was the last day or not, but all I know is it was you thought it'd be so weird. It kind of was a little bit because it's Tiger and you can notice the fans a little bit, but on TV it really wasn't. But don't get me wrong, for the players, it's going to be a lot different for them because they're going to be used to first of all, when you hit a shot, when you hit something, you hit your approach shot within a few feet and you hear nothing, you're like, oh, wait, was that really not that good? You're used to hearing cheers when you put it right next to the hole. So that'll be interesting. But I'm beyond pumped for golf to be back. I'm probably playing every day this week too, so it'll be the same. No fans there either.
No one can watch you scrap it up on the course. That's crazy. No,
Yeah.
but you said that you like Spieth. Anyone else that's
Yeah, so I'm going to go here. I'll go into my bets now. I haven't put anything in yet, but these are what I'm thinking. Well, actually, first, let's go over this. I do really want to kind of commend the tour for doing this. And, when they're going through their tee times, they skipped 8:46 a.m. to
cool.
give a moment for George Floyd, which is, it's really kind of important. And I think that that's great that they did that. So it's kind of like a moment of silence, for him in the first round. So that'll be cool. Good on them for doing that, especially a sport that is predominantly a white sport. So it's very good that they're showing their backing of this whole movement and everything that goes with it.
Right. That's it's a good courteous and well-timed and just overall professional move by the PGA. So yeah, hat tip to them for sure.
Agreed. So going into my bets, I have a few guys that I like for winners, a few matchups. So golf betting is a little different. You have different props you can take. You can take a guy to win. You can take a guy to finish in the top 5, top 10, miss the cut, make the cut. Matchups between guys. So I did a little bit of both. I think that odds wise, I have 2 guys that I want to take to win. These are just based on, first one is Rory's at plus 600 and he's hot as anyone right now. I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to benefit from this, and he's going to, he's coming off such a good, 2.5 years now that, it'll be fun to watch him again. He's going to be the odds on favorite in almost every single event he goes to. And then I'm addicted to betting Brooks Koepka in every tournament. So I have to again, because he's a guy that people joke about not caring about PGA Tour events and only caring about majors, which is completely false. He's still won so much on tour. And there goes my computer almost. And I think that at plus 2,500 to win is a good bet to throw a little bit on. And then I got some top 10s. I like Spieth top 10 playing at his home area. I think that I don't know how that's going to work out if he's allowed to stay at home. I'm guessing he is, but I don't know. I think that him playing there, and that's where he played his first event as a kid too, his first tour event when he was an amateur. I think that him at plus 400 to make a top 10 finish is a good bet. And I like Victor Hovland at plus 55, top 10, one of the most consistent young guys out there right now. I don't remember the last time he was outside the top 25. He's just so consistent. He's a guy that I don't remember the exact stat, but I remember when I was working the tour, I was making this graphic on how his Sunday scoring average was 66, 67 after his first 15 events. He's just solid, just consistent. And then I like 2 different matchups. So the first one so this one's based on odds. So Spieth over Justin Rose in the tournament. That's a plus 115. I like that a lot with those odds. And then my other one is Sungjae Im over Xander Schauffele at plus 110. Sungjae last year was the most consistent young guy. He played pretty much every event. He played every week. He was staying in a hotel everywhere. He's used to weird situations. Last year he had, I should have looked up the number, but so many top 10s. He's just one of the most consistent golfers out there. My last tournament I covered, actually, he won the Honda Classic. So that was good to see. He's just a consistent ball striker. He's probably one of the best, young guys with his irons. His iron game is tremendous. He does not miss. So that's a guy that I like. Love you, Xander Schauffele, but I think that I like the plus 110 for Sungjae over Xander. So
cool. Yeah, no, I think
long spew, but yeah.
I'm gonna with golf. I typically go with your picks. You know the ins and outs more than I do, but the one name that I like, and I might throw some bread on, is Phil to make a top 10. I think it might sound pretty audacious, but how do you think him competing in the charity event and just get like golf on TV and kind of getting his rhythm of competing on a national stage, albeit in a charity event, but it was on TV, prime time. Do you think that could go to his benefit? He looked pretty sharp during those things, and I like his attitude. I don't know. I think he might be a fun little bet.
I'm actually looking up his odds right now for top 10. What are they? Phil. Not even in here. Phil Mickelson plus 1,100 top 10 finish. So that's a good for the money. Thing about Phil is since he's gotten older, he's been very inconsistent to the fact that like I've seen so many just Phil rounds where he's, getting close to shooting an 80. But the guy he's gotten so much in shape. He's obviously been playing in events in one event that matters since quarantine. I think that a guy like him staying at home might help because he's getting his rest. He's staying in shape, and he's Mr. Wellness now. So it's not like he's sitting around eating freaking cheeseburgers all day. So he's staying physically and mentally in shape, which I like. I don't mind the bet. I don't think I would do it just because Phil can be very inconsistent, and I don't know where he's going to be coming off of this whole thing. But now that I say that, he's going to win. So I just want to see Phil win again. Like it's so fun. So yeah, I mean, the thing about Phil is
you put money on him.
I don't think at plus 1,100 throwing a little bit on there is not bad. Especially if you have a safety net where you're going for a more obvious win when it comes to a matchup or something where you throw a lot on as well. So you're going to win some anyways. I don't think it's a terrible bet. I don't think that that's in mind for this week. I think I want to give him a couple events to see where he's at. Cool. But I mean, during the match he looked great, especially towards the end, and I don't know. That's kind of my thought on Phil. It's very, very inconsistent to, he's at his age as well. So, it's telling that Tiger's not playing right now too, as well, to the same thing in age. Just trying to get his rest where he can, even though he got about 3 months of it, but
it's going to be good. I'm definitely going to look more into who I want to go, but appreciate you for sharing who you're comfortable with. It's going to be worth noting when I hit the betting lines. So that's all.
Oh, I'll come up with more ones before Thursday too. So I'll let you know.
Let me know. Let us know. Honestly, if you guys are feeling someone that we didn't mention, hit us up. Talking Sports A to Z on on social. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But Busch, man, it was good talking about that NBA stuff. We got one of the first real events in major sports with golf this weekend. It's going to be awesome. Do you have any last words before we sign off?
No, I mean, it's a weird time for everyone. I mean, I'm glad we can kind of talk sports here a little bit and kind of get our 45 minutes to an hour-ish time of just, talking about that and focusing on that. Cause it's you got to keep balance right now. And I think that that's huge as you know, as well. Just myself, it's been here and there back and forth with what's going on. And, I'm just excited for what's next and whether it's in the world or in sports and everything. And hope everyone's staying, safe, healthy, smart, and kind of taking everything in right now.
Yeah, right. Safe, healthy, smart, and positive. Try to stay as positive as you can during this. No one out there, you guys aren't alone. Everyone's going through this. So we're excited and kind of privileged to be able to talk sports and hopefully bring some stupidity and humor to the sports stuff as we produce these. So we love doing it. Looking forward to doing it next week and getting back on a routine. But
Hmm.
until then, enjoy the golf that's happening this weekend. Enjoy the continued sporting news that continues to break almost by a daily basis. Little nuggets of information within these leagues are dropping for better or for worse. So by this time next week, we're going to have a ton to talk about, and we're really looking forward to it. So stay safe and have a great week to all you guys.
Go Bills.